Welcome to the Everyday Ironman podcast, where we talk to real athletes just like you and me that are working to achieve an incredible goal. My name is Mike Bosch, and I'm excited to introduce to you someone that we are going to follow over the next 18 months. Brooke Fuller is going to share with us everything that she learns as she enters into the sport of triathlon. Brooke, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Yes, happy to be here.
You are ready. That is awesome. And so I want to make sure that we level set from the beginning because I've had some guests on the podcast before who are just getting started and they're working towards their Ironman journey. But you have never done a triathlon. I can't even get the words out, right? I'm so excited. I can't even get the words out. But you have never done a triathlon. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you've never done a triathlon. And do you own a bike?
I own a bike. It probably won't be a bike I use for the triathlon. So I'll have to
Okay,
get a different bike.
so you have two wheels and some pedals, is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I have.
Okay.
For sure.
And have you learned how to swim? Now, I want to make sure that we qualify that, right? Because a lot of us, as we entered into the sport of triathlon, we thought we could swim, like we could not drown in a swimming pool, which is completely different than swimming for distance. So when I say you haven't learned to swim, I'm referring to swimming for distance. So have you learned to swim?
No.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So, yes, newbie to that for sure.
Yeah. So never done a triathlon, don't own a proper bike, and haven't learned to swim. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. That is going to be so let's do this. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and get started with your level set introduction. Now that we've established that you are in fact new to this sport, let's just talk about like, where are you? What do you do? What background are you coming into this with? What kind of time restrictions are we dealing with? That type of thing.
Okay, perfect. I am 35 years old. I have 4 kiddos who are 11, 8, 6, and 3.
Nice.
I work full time. I'm a teacher and coach. And let's say, coming into this, I did have an athletic background. So I played basketball, ran cross country and track from 5th grade up through high school, and then also played a little bit of college basketball. I've run 4 half marathons, and that's it so far. So
okay,
so you've done experience running.
Yeah, so you've done some half marathons, but we haven't done a full marathon yet, which is fine. And then some local 5K type stuff.
I've done a couple 5Ks. I think I've done 2. So 2 5Ks and then 4 halves.
Okay. And when was your last organized race? Because it wasn't that long ago, I think.
Right. So my last one was November 19th.
Okay. So as of the time of recording, about 3 weeks. And that was what distance? Was that a half marathon?
It was.
Perfect. Were you happy with your run?
Considering the perfect storm that led up to it, I was happy. With it. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got sick about 2 weeks before and didn't run over about 4 or 5 miles for 2 weeks. And so I ran a 2 hours, 46 seconds. So yeah, I was happy with it.
There you go. Okay. And so you played college basketball. And so I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. It's going to sound ridiculous, maybe. But I have asked everybody else who has come on the podcast that had claimed to have a basketball background. So when you were playing basketball and you were at the height of your basketball career, could you dunk a basketball?
Yeah.
No. Well, I didn't.
No,
I didn't want to just assume that you couldn't, but I did
Thank
ask
you.
everybody. I did ever ask everybody else. So I thought it was only fair that I ask you too. I am fascinated. I am fascinated with that. To be honest with you, so that's funny. Okay, so let's talk about this. Like how or when were you introduced into the sport of triathlon, or how did you become aware of it? Because it's
Mhm.
not a sport that gets a lot of attention. It doesn't get the attention that it should. I mean, let's just be honest,
Right.
right? How did you find out about it?
So I have known about them, but never in my life did I dream I would actually attempt to to participate in the sport.
Okay.
But recently, actually, it was just a few months ago, a friend of mine from high school completed a full Ironman, and
Cool.
I thought, man, that's so cool how your body can go through that much. And I thought, maybe I'll just tinker with the idea of it, but I had, after he completed it, I started listening to Everyday Ironman.
Mm,
And as I was doing some long runs, listened to lots of these shows and thought, hey, there are lots of people that you've had as guests
yeah.
who are just normal human beings who aren't anything, aren't professional athletes. And I thought, hey,
Yeah.
if they can do it, surely this mama of four can also. So,
That is that
yeah.
is awesome. That's much better than the answer I was hoping for, which was that the soothing sounds of my voice hypnotized
Okay.
you into believing. No, I'm just kidding. That would have been a
Yes.
good answer too. But yeah, I think your real answer is better because and I've heard it, and I think it's come up on the podcast before. You've probably heard the saying, "Only 1% of the world can do an Ironman," which I do not believe. I believe 1% of the world has chosen to,
Hmm.
prioritize the things necessary to be able to prepare for an Ironman race. But you're right. It is something that just about anybody can do. So there are some significant obstacles that would exclude certain individuals or whatever. So I don't want to
Hmm.
just sit there and blanket statement anybody can do it because there are a few, this or that. But um, yeah, and I think for me to be able to compete on the same course on the same day in the same conditions that a professional athlete has the opportunity to do, there's no other sport.
Hmm.
There's no other sport. And I've mentioned it on the podcast before, and it's not really a sport, but the only other thing I can equate it to is the World Series of Poker. Like anybody
Hmm.
could pay, and you won't last long probably, but you
Right.
could play in that tournament if you chose to do so.
Hmm.
Well, that's cool. So I'm glad that your friend from high school completed this event, which in turn
Hmm.
led you to the podcast, and you were able to hear all of the inspiring guests that I have had on because I really have had. I've been so very blessed to be able to meet so many incredible people, and everybody has a cool story and a
Hmm.
the why behind what's driving them and all of that. So you told us how you found out about it, but do you know, like, do you have that? Have you figured that why out? Because the why is what's going to get you through those tough training sessions. Like, you're going to have some tough training sessions. You're going to have
Hmm.
days that you don't want to work out, and you're going to have sessions long sessions, and it's okay to skip a workout, right? I want to make
Hmm.
sure that we're clear there. But have you given some thought to what that why is that you're going to ground everything into to keep you
Hmm.
going?
For sure. I thought about this for quite a bit, but what I've boiled it down to is I was I had such a strong athletic identity when I was back in high school and playing in college just a bit. And I remember when I hung it all up and I was no longer an athlete, and then I fell into
Mm,
this bucket of a has been. And then I thought, like, my body is capable of things still, so why do I have to still call myself a has been? and I feel like I am still able to do things and
Yeah.
want to just prove it to myself that I can. And then also my kiddos, just showing them that, you can do hard things and perseverance goes a long ways. And so that's,
Yeah.
that's what I boiled it down to, really.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. And I don't know that I truly gave a lot of thought to my why
Hmm.
originally on my original journey. And so in absence of a why, I just told everybody I was going to do it. And then they just
Hmm.
held me accountable because I didn't want to tell anyone I wasn't doing it or I didn't do it or whatever. But
Hmm.
they didn't get me through those hard training days. So being that role model for your
Hmm.
kids is fantastic. And obviously proving it to yourself, because that is something I think a lot of people can resonate to as they go through different stages of life, right? I mean, at some
Hmm.
point as children, we're all pretty active. We may not be, the best athlete in the school, right? But we all run around, we all play games
Hmm.
and things like that. And I think it's a natural cycle for us to go through a period of time where that stops and we have to be an adult and you have to
Hmm.
raise a family or get a real job or do those things. And so I think sometimes it's easy to let those things slip away.
Hmm.
And one of the things that's cool about triathlon is any age, right? I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of I didn't get into it until I was in my 40s.
Hmm.
And there's people, older than me that are just getting into the sport. So that's awesome. Have you done any research? Have you looked at the women in your age group to know like where you're competing? Have you gone down that rabbit hole yet?
I did. It was probably a month or two ago that I started looking, and
Hmm.
I can't even remember what the times were, but I did look at the swimming the other day
Hmm.
because I got in a pool for the first time and was trying to actually swim
Yeah.
properly. And I was comparing my times. I'm like, okay, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the swim, oh my God. I went to the pool today. So I
Hmm.
shared with you right before we started the podcast. Today was the first day of training for Oceanside 70.3. So I've got 4 months. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Woo! And
Woohoo!
I went to the pool today. So Monday and Friday are pool days based on my
Uh-huh.
training, my follow trot. And today was the first day I've been in the pool for like 2 weeks. And
Hmm.
oh, it was tough. But I have committed. So I'm telling the world, right? Because this is what I do.
Hmm.
I'm going to hold myself accountable. So I'm going to put it out there. My goal is to do a couple of things. I love the podcast. I'm having a great time. I love the interaction, but I also want to move some content to YouTube. And I have a YouTube
Hmm.
channel. I've posted some things on there. I haven't really been committed enough, but I have committed to documenting my journey, my training
Hmm.
journey, and my race on YouTube. So I'll do weekly
Nice.
videos, right? And so I recorded myself. I have a GoPro and I've complained before. I
Hmm.
don't have a way to get, well, I do have a way to get video, right? I just
Hmm.
didn't do it. I was watching it back tonight and I was like, oh my God, that is the worst possible swim form I have ever. And I've been swimming for like 7 years now. It is horrible. It's so crazy how in my mind, I thought, "Oh, I'm getting more streamlined." No, 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 no.
Hmm.
No, it's. I told.
No.
I messaged Ashley Rains earlier. I'm like, it's amazing that I can even make forward progress in the pool. Like it's. Oh, it's horrible. It's
Oh,
horrible. So
that's
so don't
funny.
don't feel bad if you're not where you
Okay.
need to be, because I'm not where I need to be either. Yeah, yeah. And while we're talking about YouTube, so I mentioned in the opener that we are
Hmm.
going to get to know you over the next 18 months. So this is
Hmm.
the first podcast that you were on, and we're going to do regular check-ins with you. And I believe that we're going to release some of those, if not all of them, on YouTube. So we're going
All
to,
right.
they're going to be very little editing, because I don't have
Hmm.
the editing skills of Tiffany Saunders to make these high quality, high resolution, bad Mama Jamma videos, and that's okay. But I want to be able to, if you're okay with it, I never want to
Hmm.
put anybody in a position of uncomfortability, but it'd be kind of cool if, you know, we can do a swim analysis, like record yourself in the swimming pool so we can see how you're
For
progressing, and we
sure.
can look at some of your bike setup, and we can, you know, when you finally
Hmm.
get your bike, and we can go through all that stuff. So I know we didn't talk about that ahead of time, and you're probably like, I did not sign up for
Uh,
that, but
no.
it's going to be a blast. It's going to be so much
Yeah, it'll be
fun.
great.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
sure. No, I'm game.
So I have a
I'm
list.
game for that.
You're game for that? Awesome.
I'm
Awesome. I
game
knew you
for
were going to be a team
whatever.
player. I knew you
I
were going to be a team player, Brooke.
am.
Okay. So let's talk about a few things. So we we had a brief meeting ahead of time, because I mean,
Hmm.
obviously I'm not that cold-hearted that I would have put you totally on the spot. We had a pre-show a couple weeks back. Full disclosure, I fell asleep prior to the recording and missed half of it, or our
Oh
meeting.
yeah.
So I made sure I was on time tonight. Um, and we talked about the fact that we're going to follow your journey at least until 70.3, but we're not going to
Hmm.
jump from no triathlon to 70.3. We're going to go through some steps along the way, right? So we're likely going to start with a sprint triathlon, correct?
Hmm. Right.
Perfect. Have you have you given any thought to when you would want to do? Because so sprint triathlons, and I know every area is different,
Hmm.
but they'll start in March, April, and then they'll
Hmm.
run through June, and then you're not that far from me, so there'll be a break in the hottest part of the summer where they probably won't be any at all, and then they'll pick back up in the fall, right? They'll pick
Hmm.
back up on the fall, and the early ones and the late ones will be pool swims, and
Hmm.
then the ones kind of in the middle will be open water swims.
Hmm.
So let's are you comfortable? Let's talk about that a little bit, right? So
For sure.
have you given any thought to, okay, so we're in December, right?
Hmm.
The very first opportunity, if you signed up for the very first one, at least in North Texas, I'm not sure where you are as to what your schedule is. I looked and I didn't see a lot, but
Hmm.
middle of March is the first one, even where I live. So that's 3.5, almost 4 months from
Hmm.
now, if I did the math right, something like that, 3 months. Have you thought about when you would want to be thinking about doing your first sprint triathlon? Are you thinking in the spring, or are you thinking in the fall?
Well, I haven't thought too much about it yet.
That's fine.
The sprint. I am registered to run a full marathon in April, at the end of April.
What?
So yeah.
What
So
marathon
with
are you
you,
running?
it's the Oklahoma City Memorial.
Okay, writing
Yeah.
that down. Writing
So
that down.
that is, what day is that? The 27th, maybe 28th of April.
I might be in marathon shape then.
Hey, come on.
I might.
We'll do it together.
Maybe. Maybe. You're not that far from me. Oklahoma City's not that far from me.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So, with your expertise, what would you say? Spring or fall?
Well,
I'm
I
the
would
newbie.
say, yeah, I would say if we could find a pull swim triathlon
Hmm.
in May or
Okay.
June, that would be reasonable. I think anything prior to that, I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't be done, like people do it,
Hmm.
right? But we still have to get a bike. We still have to learn how to swim. Like there's some things,
For
right?
sure.
And we don't
For
want to be
sure.
we don't want to be one and done. We want to have a good basis to build on. We want you to enjoy the sport. We want you to grow,
Hmm.
and we want you to ultimately get to the Ironman distance and cross that finish line, right? So I would
Yeah.
say we need to start looking at the calendar and just see what
Hmm.
races are available or going to be available. So let me ask you this. You are in Oklahoma. Um,
Hmm.
what's the farthest you would be willing to travel for a sprint triathlon if there's not one in your immediate area? Are you comfortable with a short travel? Like, how
Yeah.
far can we look to find one?
I mean, if I could pawn all my kids off on the grandparents, I would say my husband and I mean, maybe 6 hours. We could do
Okay.
that and
Okay.
get back to the kiddos before the grandparents go insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, or the kiddos could come. You never know, right? Okay. So we're thinking pull swim, sprint
Hmm.
triathlon. I will do some research as well. I will look to see what
Okay.
I can find. I do remember looking after our first conversation, and there was something in and around your area, not too far.
Hmm.
So I'll go back and do a little bit more research. But I would really like to think that you could get a sprint done in the spring, the late spring,
Hmm.
like at the beginning, and then that would give you through the summer months to, obviously I'm sure you've got other plans besides this. You're going to have vacation and stuff like that, right? You're going to spend some quality time with your kiddos, right? And
For
then
sure.
we could target another one in the fall, whether
Yeah.
it's another sprint or another pool sprint, or maybe an open water sprint. So let me ask you this: do you have open water access to? Is there a lake close to you where you could swim open water, or what's your access? Do you know?
There is a lake about 40 minutes from here that,
Okay.
yes, I could
Okay.
I could go swim there.
Okay. I'm gonna do some research,
Okay.
and so let me ask you this: what's the major city you're close to?
Oklahoma City is the
Oh,
closest.
so you're close to Oklahoma City. I'm doing my hands like I'm like looking on the map. So when I release this on YouTube, they're like, "What is this guy doing?" Right? I'm normally used to an audio only podcast. I'll get better at this. And
Okay.
and so I'll look to see. So like in North Texas, Play Try, which is it's a chain of, it's like
Hmm.
a national chain. They host a lot of triathlons. They sell triathlon gear. They host open water swim clinics here in North Texas. So on a Saturday, they will have a couple of options at a couple different lakes where you can go, and for $10
Hmm.
you can do what they call a drop in, and they have like a coach there that'll kind of guide you through. He's not going to teach you proper technique, but they
Hmm.
give you some guidance. There's a kayaker usually available, so
Oh,
for like
nice.
somebody, yeah, so there's some port. We definitely wouldn't want you just going out to the local lake this new in your um, career and
Hmm.
swim in open water. Like, we're going to be careful. I was just curious as to if there was a lake close by. Okay. All
Yes.
right. So we're gonna look for a pool sprint in and around Oklahoma City, but possibly up to 6 hours away, which
Yes.
might include Dallas Fort Worth, right?
Woohoo! Yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah, if you come to Dallas Fort Worth, I'll come cheer you on. I'm
Okay.
just saying. I'm just saying. But we'll see if we can find one close to you. Okay. All right. So we don't want to jump like too far in the future, but I also think it's good to have a goal, right?
For sure.
So we said we were going to track you at least all the way through 70.3, possibly to the full distance. We'll just see how it goes, but at least till you make it across the 70.3 finish line. Have you
Hmm.
given any thought to what race you would like to do? And the reason I ask that is, as we go through this process together, we will
Hmm.
likely analyze a couple of options, and we'll look to see, okay, well, how are we progressing in our swim? Are we comfortable in an ocean swim? Do we need a lake swim, or do we need the current assist advantage that I needed? And we need to look for a river swim, right? And then we'll have to
Hmm.
decide, okay, what about the bike? Can we manage some hills? Are we more comfortable? Do we need the flats and then the run? So we'll
Hmm.
do all of that. But if it take just push all of that aside, have you
Hmm.
given any thought to any race that you would have heard of that you've thought to yourself, "Oh, I'd like to do that race."
hmm I have looked quite a bit, and
Okay.
I did listen to the episode when you were going through your race at Salem. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a friend that lives up there. So I'm like, well, I could go see her, and
Oh,
that
heck
the
yeah.
the river current sounds pretty nice. Um, I I definitely would like to avoid the ocean. I don't even get in the ocean at all.
Yeah.
It scares me um, because it can kill you in so many ways.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you just for sure, for sure. You got to respect it 100%.
for sure, but a river or a lake would be ideal for me.
Okay. So let me ask you this because you're a teacher. You've
Hmm
said that. Okay. So
Right,
Oregon is in the summer, right? So now we
hmm
have no schedule conflicts
right,
around work. It is a bit of a distance from
hmm
uh, Oklahoma, but not that far. So potentially, we're I'm not committing to anything because we can't sign up now anyway.
right.
But on the board is Oregon 70.3 2025. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I,
Yeah.
I I'm super excited about that.
hmm
Couple reasons. I love the Oregon race.
hmm
Uh, it was a beautiful experience. It was a beautiful area. It was a beautiful experience.
hmm
The river swim was incredible, but the
Yeah.
rest of the race was fantastic too. The bike course was
hmm
great. The run was good. You'd crush the run there, I'm sure, with your running background. So, okay, so I've got Oregon 70.3 2025. Okay, so that means, just so you know, in order to get into the Oregon race in 2025, I'm just going to prepare you for this. You need to be prepared to sign up for it this summer.
hmm
Okay,
Okay.
because it will sell. It has sold out pretty early.
hmm
Every other year, it's sold out pretty fast this year. It's already sold out. You can't even
hmm
get into it in this year in 2024 if you wanted to. At this point, it's sold out.
Yeah.
Um, but you will be able to get into it in 2025.
hmm
But you're going to have to be prepared to sign up for it this year. So just keep
Okay.
that in mind. Okay, just keep that in mind because
Good
that's
to
an
know.
important thing to know. And the reason I say that is I'm planning on racing Oceanside, as I said. I don't have any plans to
Hmm
sign up and pay my money until after I get back from snowboarding because I want to make sure that I don't end up with any broken bones. So I won't sign up for it until January because it's not going to sell out,
Uh-huh.
right? I'll be fine. Like there's no need to rush. But Oregon, you're going to need to be pretty decisive
hmm
uh, on that. So, oh, I
Okay.
am so excited. Um, yeah, it is gonna be awesome. Okay, so couple notes, and I've kind of referenced a couple of these already, but hey, I'm a professional. I've got some notes here. So
Yes.
we've talked about recording a check in once a month, right?
hmm
We'll do a once a month check in, and sometimes it'll be longer than others, right? Because just depends on where we are. And we're going to talk about what you've learned, how
hmm
your training is going. I think one of the things that I think will be cool to document is because we get questions all the time, or I see them on different areas of social media. Is like, well, when do I need this? Well, you may not need
hmm
this then. You need these other things then. So we're going to talk about okay, we're 3 months in and these are the
hmm
things that we're dealing with. These are the things that we have to solve for, we have to learn. We'll get to the point where nutrition is going to be important, right? And
hmm
we'll talk through some of that stuff. We need to talk through uh, race gear, shoes,
hmm
kits, obviously your bike. I'm super excited when it comes to that. And I got to be honest, I'm torn because like normally I get to talk about bikes and you don't have one
hmm
yet, but that means
No.
we get to talk about it as you go through your bike options, right? Which is so cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'm super excited about that. We'll get to talk about, do you want a road bike? Do you want a TT bike? Are you gonna get clip on?
Mhm.
Like, we're gonna go through all that stuff. This is gonna be so much fun. Um,
Perfect.
and so we talked about the fact that we will likely release the episodes on YouTube, and I might
Mhm.
cross release them. I might release them as a audio only on the podcast channel, and then as a video on YouTube, so that everyone
Mhm.
can really, because really what I want to do, Brooke, is I want the listeners to connect with you, so
Mhm.
that they'll be cheering you on as you go
Yeah.
through this journey. And that is going to be so much fun. Okay. And so to that point, okay, I'm going to invite you and anybody else that's out there listening that hasn't already, to join the Everyday Ironman podcast Facebook group. So Colin
Okay.
Wilson, former guest, is
Mhm.
the moderator, administrator, I don't even know how it works, of the Facebook group. And
Mhm.
he's just got it started. I think we're, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks into it. So he's figuring some things out, but he's super passionate about it. But he's
Mhm.
working to create this kind of this little community to where
Yeah.
we can come to, and we can feel safe, and you can ask a
Mhm.
question, because you'll learn, Brooke, that and I saw it just today. Somebody will ask a genuine question, and
Mhm.
you get a bunch of snarky
Ah.
comments from people who, they've been I mean, triathlon's a great sport, and the community is very
Mhm.
supportive, but there's always that one guy out there,
Right.
right, that has to put it out there, right? And
Mhm.
we're not going to have that in our group. We're not going to tolerate it, quite honestly. So we're not going to have it. This is
You're
a
out.
safe you're out. We will boop. Yeah. And so I want to special shout out to Brian and Tony for being top contributors in the Facebook group so far. They've been very active, answering questions, providing support, posting all the things that they're doing. So big
Mhm.
shout out to them. Okay. So let me ask you this now, and that is, what is the next thing that you think you need to make a decision on, right? So we decided that you're going to do a sprint or
Mhm.
late spring. You are signed up for the Oklahoma City Marathon, so you're going to be doing a lot of running.
Right.
But what's the do you have an idea, or have you thought about yet? Like, okay, I need to think about this next.
The very next thing, as in right now, next, goggles. I need to
Mm,
buy a pair of good goggles because what
yeah.
I was using the other day is not gonna work at all
Okay.
for
Okay.
anything. So yeah, but I don't know if that's if that answers your
No,
question.
that's a fantastic question. So let's talk about that for just a second. So when you say your goggles weren't working, were
Uh-huh.
they leaking? Were they fogging? Could you not see out of them? Like, what was giving you trouble?
Let me just tell you, the goggles I had were my child's that she swims in the
So they're
summertime.
probably too small for you.
They're too small. They
Yeah,
fell off. It was pretty much I knew I didn't have a pair of my own, and I was like, "Where is Hattie's goggles?"
gotcha,
And then they worked zero, so I didn't even use them. Didn't even
gotcha.
try to put my face in the water. So
Gotcha. Well,
yeah.
there's definitely a lot of goggle choices out there, right? And so I
Hmm.
have a couple of pair of goggles myself, and so I can just share you with you my experience, and then
Hmm.
we can kind of use that to, because what works for me isn't going to work for everybody, right? So I can just kind of
Hmm.
let you know what I've done, and I think to get started, you don't need some super expensive ones, right? You just need
Hmm.
probably adult size, right?
Right.
Um, but you're going to need to go through the decision of, do I want clear ones? Do I want tinted ones? Do I want mirrored ones? And those are going to be decisions that really, once you get outside doing open water swim, is going to become more important, right? Because
Hmm.
am I swimming towards the sun? Do I have the sun at my back? That type of thing.
Hmm.
Now, I wear glasses, as you can tell. I don't know if you wear
Hmm.
contacts or if you have just naturally correct vision.
LASIK.
Oh, okay. So we might want to talk about that because my wife just mentioned this week, she's like, I want to get LASIK. So I might have some unrelated questions for you there. But I have a pair of corrective goggles, right? So they're like
Uh-huh.
reading glasses for goggles, and I can see
Ooh.
a little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of people that really heavily talk about the magic. I think they're the Magic 5 goggles, where you actually take a couple pictures of your face and it scans
Oh.
the shape of your eye and they make you these special goggles. I don't have a pair, but I've heard really good things. But what I do have a pair of are the Form Smart goggles. Okay. And so what they are, Brooke, is just like your watch, you can see your like your data, right? You can see
Mhm.
how far you've run and you can see your heart rate and your lap times and all that stuff, right? My
Mhm.
swim goggles have that built in to them. And so it's this
What?
little it's these little dot matrix display that
Mhm.
displays in my right eye. And my goggles, and anybody that has Form goggles can get that, or they may have upgraded it. It has a heart rate sensor that sits on my temple, and so
Ah.
it will read my heart rate and display my heart rate. And so what it does is it goes through like a scrolling. You can't see all the information at one time. It just kind of
Mhm.
scrolls through, so I can see like my elapsed time, my elapsed
Mhm.
distance. I can see my last pace per 100. I can see my heart rate, and it is super cool.
Mhm.
It is super. Those are super cool. Now they're a little spendy, so they're definitely not something that you need like right out of the gate. Um,
Mhm.
but if you ever find yourself, you're like, hey, I feel like I need that feedback. That is definitely an
Mhm.
option. Okay, but no
Okay,
pressure.
good to
No
know.
pressure. We're not sponsored by Form or anything like that, so that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so goggles are next up on your list of things to decide. So once you've gotten your goggles,
Mhm.
how often do you think you will be getting to the pool?
So for now, until the marathon,
Yeah.
I'd say probably twice a week.
Oh,
Um,
that's more than
just
enough times.
okay, okay. Because all of my cross training days, I may just go swim because I
Yeah.
need lots of practice swimming. So I thought typically I run whatever my plan says, and 2 of those days are cross training. So I think I may start with that.
Gotcha. Okay. So have you, and we talked about the fact that you haven't learned how to swim yet.
Hmm.
Have you thought about how you're going to learn how to swim?
Not yet. I have
Okay.
thought, I may need to hire a coach. I would like to just get some goggles and see
Yeah.
what I can do, just on my own. But then I thought, oh, I could watch some videos and then
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know,
So,
coaching videos.
yeah. Or, so Kat Heimberger and I, not together, but separately, went
Hmm.
through the 5-day catch challenge that is a video series by a company, Effortless Swimming. I think it was like $15 or something like that.
Hmm.
And it was access to these videos, and it was basically drills. So
Okay.
you will come to learn that there's a couple, and I am the last person that should be giving any sort of swim advice. But there's a couple key things that you'll need to learn, right? So we'll start with this. Are you comfortable putting your face in the water?
I am.
Okay, so
Yes.
you've already crossed that bridge. So you can turn your head, take air in, put your face in the water, and exhale.
I can do it. It's not very rhythmic yet, and
Okay,
it's sporadic when I'm breathing, but I am comfortable with my
okay.
face in the
Oh,
water.
you're
Yeah.
already ahead of a lot of you're way ahead of where I was when I started. So we'll just say that. So that's awesome.
Okay.
Good for you. You're already light years ahead. Okay, so once you've gotten that done, one of the things that is important is what they call this high elbow catch, and it's
Mhm.
basically how you position your arm to where you have a lot of surface water that you're pushing against. And so this
Mhm.
5-day catch challenge works you through that process one little step at a time. And so you learn
Okay.
like the very first part of it. You learn, I think on the first day, it's all about hand entry. And all you do is just
Mhm.
practice putting your hand underneath your kickboard. That's it. Just whoop,
Mhm.
putting your hand underneath your kickboard. And then the next day, it's just about moving your arms, like rotating your arms this way, right? And you just kind of like
Mhm.
baby step your way through it. And then on the fifth day, you've connected it all, and it's all one smooth motion. And so
Nice.
that would be something that I would encourage you to at least look at. You don't have to
Mhm.
sign up for it if you think it's something that you won't get you there. But I've actually, after having learned how to swim, I've actually went back and I've done it again. And so it's
Mhm.
it's just like it's just like with your kids that you instruct or you coach. There's probably drills that you
Mhm.
do to reinforce proper technique or good behavior, right?
Right.
It's the same principle. Okay. And so
Mhm.
you're going to need like a pull buoy, and you're going to need some fins and some paddles, and I'll just put you together a whole list of stuff you need to get off Amazon.
Deal. That sounds
Deal.
great.
Yeah, I'll walk
Send
you
it
through all of
straight to
this.
my husband.
Yeah, I'll just send you all that stuff.
Birthday, Christmas,
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah, I went to the pool today, and I used my kickboard, I used my
Mhm.
fins. I didn't use my pull buoy or my paddles, but I did use them the last time I was in. So I try to rotate all my stuff. Now, when you get to the front snorkel, if you can figure out how to use the front snorkel, oh, you're going to be golden. I still haven't quite figured out how to use that without the nose plug, but okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pause there and ask if you have any questions.
I don't think I do right now.
Okay.
Aside from the goggles.
Yeah.
That was my big question. But I'm sure I'm gonna have 1,000 over the
Yeah.
next year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Okay. All right. Well, that's fair. I know this was a very first. Or we were introducing the podcast audience to you. We're letting them know that we're going to follow you along this journey over the next 18 months. Um, Potentially, we'll figure out how to make sure that there are other athletes or spectators there cheering you on.
Ah, I
When
can
it
hear you now.
when it how did you lose me for a second?
I did. I lost you
I
for
was
like,
just I was singing all your praises, Brooke. I was talking you up really
were
good.
you?
Yeah.
I missed all of this.
You missed
Dang
all of
it.
that. That was too
It
funny.
was like 40 seconds I missed.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna. This was just. I was just recapping. Like, this is our first introduction to you, so we're just kind of getting some of the house, kind of what do they call it, the housekeeping stuff out of the way.
Mhm.
Doing our level set, reassuring everybody that you are in fact new to the sport, and we're gonna get to follow along with you as you learn all of these cool little things. So, I think. Hopefully on the next check-in, right, we'll talk about
Mhm.
what goggles that you got,
Mhm.
and we will get an update on where you are in your Oklahoma City marathon training.
Okay. That
How's
sounds
that?
great.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So as we wrap up the podcast today, I have one last question, and that is, we've talked about the fact that you've just started, right?
Mhm.
And so this question may or may not apply, but it's a question that we'll probably ask throughout every podcast in some shape or form. And that is, have you learned anything so far or to this point in your journey that you
Mhm.
didn't expect that you would learn, or you didn't expect the answer of what you learned, that you would want to share or you could share with the listeners?
Mhm. One thing I have learned lately and just over the past few months of training for the halves is the importance of fueling my body and giving myself
Mm-hmm.
rest. I think so often it's like, "Oh, I have to do more and more and more." But I think sometimes that makes me go backwards. And so getting proper sleep, eating what I need to, just seems to do more for me than I ever thought it would.
Very good. So fuel and recovery. I'm gonna make a note of that. That is awesome. Yeah,
Yes,
those are
yeah.
good. Those are good. That's good, right? Because I do think that there are times where we, and I'm speaking for myself, we want to cram
Hmm.
so much in because when we have that window of time when we can do training, we try to get it all done, and that's not
Right.
necessarily good for our body. Um,
Hmm.
so that's good. Fuel and recovery. I like that. Well, cool. Well,
Yeah.
Brooke, it was great catching up with you. I am really excited, and I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but I'm really looking forward to the bike episode whenever we get there. So you're gonna have to give me
Yeah.
a little bit of a heads up on
Okay.
that, and I'll do some solid research on what our bike options are and all of that stuff. Okay, so fingers
Perfect.
crossed that's soon, but again, we're not rushing into it. Okay,
Okay.
cool. All right. Well,
That sounds great.
you have a great evening. You have a Merry Christmas if I don't speak to you between now and then. And I look
Okay.
forward to you, or I look forward to catching up with you on the next episode.
For sure. Merry Christmas to you too.
Thanks. All right. See ya.
Uh-huh. Bye bye.